stood at the viewing window of his ship, watching the station grow larger as they approached. He had never seen anything like it. The Earth ship Defiant was small compared to the huge alien vessels around them. Jake was 35 years old, with short brown hair and tired eyes. He wore the blue uniform of the Earth Defense Corps. This was his first mission beyond. Earth's Solar System. Ambassador Lisa Carter walked up beside him. She was a tall woman with gray hair who had spent years learning alien languages and customs. She looked nervous as she studied the station ahead of them. Lisa knew this meeting would decide humanity's future among the stars. "Remember Jake," she said quietly. "We're here to make friends, not enemies. Humans are new to galactic society. We need to be careful." Jake nodded, but said nothing. He had. Read the reports about alien technology and military power. Every species they would meet today could destroy Earth without much effort. Humans had only learned to travel faster than light 2 years ago. They were babies compared to civilizations that had been exploring space for thousands of years. The Defiant docked with a soft bump. Jake and Lisa walked through the airlock into a world unlike anything on Earth. The station's corridors were huge to accommodate different alien species. Some creatures were tiny and floated in special suits. Others were massive beings that moved on multiple legs. The air smelled strange, and the gravity felt slightly different. They followed signs, written in dozens of languages, toward the diplomatic section. Along the way, they saw shops selling items from across the galaxy and restaurants serving foods Jake could not identify. Aliens stopped to stare at the humans with curiosity. Some pointed and whispered in languages the translation devices could not understand. The diplomatic meeting hall was enormous. Representatives from 50 different species sat in special chairs designed for their unique bodies. At the center of the room stood Ambassador Kethvar of the Corvani Empire. He was 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 powerful arms. His people were known as the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Lisa presented Earth's request to join the galactic community. She spoke about human achievements in science and art. She offered trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. Her speech was well prepared, and she delivered it with confidence. The alien delegates listened politely, but Jake could see doubt in their eyes. When Lisa finished, several species asked questions about human military strength and technology. Their tone was not hostile, but it was clear they saw humans as weak and primitive. Ambassador Kethvar stood up last. His voice was deep and carried easily through the large hall. "The humans wish to join our community," he said. "But what can they offer? They have no advanced weapons. Their ships are slow and poorly armed. They have never won a battle against a real enemy." Other delegates murmured agreement. Jake felt his face grow hot with anger, but Lisa placed a warning hand on his arm. Kethvar continued, "Perhaps humans could serve as servants or laborers for the stronger races. They seem suited for simple tasks that do not require real skill or courage." The hall erupted in alien laughter. Jake's hands clenched into fists. He had served in 3 wars on Earth. He had led soldiers through battles that would give these aliens nightmares. But here he was being mocked as too weak to matter. Lisa tried to respond diplomatically, but Kethvar cut her off. "The Corvani Empire has protected this galaxy for centuries," he said. "We have warriors who could defeat entire human armies single-handed. Your species is not ready to stand with the strong." Something snapped inside Jake. He stood up, and his voice cut through the alien chatter. "You want to test human strength? Fine. I challenge your greatest warrior to single combat." The hall fell silent. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. "What are you doing?" she whispered. Jake ignored her. He stared directly at Kethvar. "I invoke the right of challenge. Ancient law says any species can prove their worth through combat. Find your best fighter and I'll show you what humans can do." Kethver S. leaned with amusement. You wish to face a Corvani warrior? Very well human, but not just any warrior. He activated a communication device. I summoned Queen Vexthara to accept this challenge. The name sent whispers through the crowd. Jake had never heard it before, but the fear in alien voices told him everything. Lisa went pale. Jake, she said urgently, Queen Vexthara has defeated 100 challengers from across the galaxy. No one has ever beaten her. She's called the Unconquerable. But Jake had already committed himself. The right of challenge was sacred law. He could not back down now without dishonoring all humanity. New voice echoed through the hall. It was deeper than Kethvar's and carried the sound of absolute authority. Who dares challenge the Queen of the Corvani? Every alien in the room turned toward the entrance. Even the bravest warriors looked nervous. Jake felt his heart skip as he realized what he had done. But it was too late to change his mind. The challenge had been made. Tomorrow, he would fight the most dangerous warrior in known space. The future of humanity would be decided in the Grand Colosseum. Jake only hoped he would live long enough to regret his decision. Queen Vexthara entered the diplomatic hall like a force of nature. She stood 9 feet tall with blue-black skin that looked like polished metal. 4 powerful arms moved with deadly grace, and her eyes glowed orange in the dim light. Scars covered her body from 100 battles. Each mark was a story of victory against impossible odds. Jake had faced dangerous enemies before, but nothing like this. The queen moved like a predator studying prey. Her presence filled the room with an electric tension that made every alien step back. Even her own people showed deep respect mixed with fear. She looked directly at Jake with those burning orange eyes. You are the human who wishes to die? Her voice was like grinding stone. I have killed creatures twice your size without effort. What makes you think you can succeed where champions of 50 worlds have failed? Jake forced himself to stand straight and meet her gaze. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Queen Vexthara laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. Tomorrow, then. The combat will be held in the Grand Colosseum at midday. Prepare yourself, human. You have chosen a glorious way to die. She turned and walked out with her guards following. The other aliens began talking excitedly in their various languages. Most seemed amazed that anyone would be foolish enough to challenge the queen. Others placed bets on how quickly Jake would be defeated. Lisa pulled Jake aside as soon as they left the hall. Her face was white with worry. Do you understand what you've done? Queen Vexthara has never lost a fight. She's genetically enhanced beyond normal Corvani limits. Her people are already apex predators, and she's the ultimate example of their species. Jake ran his hand through his hair. I know it looks bad, Lisa, but someone had to stand up to them. They were treating us like pets. At least now they'll remember that humans don't back down from a fight. They'll remember that humans are suicidal idiots, Lisa snapped. When you die tomorrow, it will prove everything they said about us being weak. No species will want to ally with a race that throws away their lives for nothing. They returned to the Defiant in silence. News of the challenge had already spread throughout the station. Alien news networks were calling it the shortest fight in Colosseum history. Some reporters wanted interviews with the human who was about to become the Queen's 101st victim. Dr. Amy Phillips met them at the airlock. She was a small woman with blonde hair who served as the ship's medical officer. Her face showed the same worry as Lisa's. I've been monitoring alien communication channels, she said. Every species is talking about tomorrow's fight. They all think you're going to die horribly. Jake nodded grimly. What can you tell me about Corvani biology? Any weaknesses I can exploit? Amy led him to the medical bay, where she had prepared detailed scans and data. I've studied everything available about their species. Corvani evolved on a high-gravity world with dangerous predators. They're incredibly strong and fast with reflexes 3 times better than humans. Their skin is naturally armored, and their bones are dense as steel. She brought up a hologram showing Corvani anatomy. Queen Vexthara is enhanced even beyond normal Corvani limits. Her genetic modifications make her stronger than 10 normal warriors of her species. She has redundant organs, so even serious injuries won't stop her quickly. Jake studied the display, looking for anything useful. What about pressure points or nerve clusters? Some possibilities, Amy said, but you'd need to hit them exactly right and with tremendous force. Their nervous system is different from ours. What would paralyze a human might just anger a Corvani. The ship's communication system chimed. Jake's personal message indicator showed an incoming call from Earth. His heart sank as he realized it was from his family. Emma Morrison appeared on the screen with their 6-year-old son Tyler beside her. Emma had dark hair and the kind of smile that made everything seem better. Tyler was missing his front teeth and grinned widely when he saw his father. "Daddy!" Tyler shouted. "When are you coming home?" "I learned how to ride my bike without training." "Wheels." Jake forced himself to smile. "That's great, buddy. I'm proud of you. Be good for your mom, okay?" Emma studied his face with concern. She knew him well enough to see when something was wrong. "Jake, is everything all right? You look worried." "Everything's fine," he lied. "Just dealing with some diplomatic stuff. Nothing important." They talked for a few more minutes about normal family things. Tyler showed off a drawing he had made of spaceships. Emma told him about her work at the hospital. Jake memorized every detail of their faces, knowing this might be the last time he saw them. After the call ended, Jake sat alone in his quarters, staring at a photo of his family. The weight of representing all humanity pressed down on him like a physical force. If he died tomorrow, it would not just be his own life lost. It would doom Earth to being treated as a second-class species for generations. He spent the rest of the night studying recordings of Queen Vexthara's previous fights. The archive had detailed footage of her last 50 battles. Each one was a masterpiece of controlled violence. She moved like a dancer, but hit like a sledgehammer. Her opponents were skilled warriors from dangerous species, but she defeated them all with apparent ease. The pattern was always the same. Queen Vexthara would study her opponent for a few moments, then launch a devastating attack. Most fights ended within minutes. Those that lasted longer only did so because she was playing with her prey. Jake watched her tear apart a reptilian warrior who stood 12 feet tall. She crushed an insectoid champion whose exoskeleton could stop energy. Weapons. She broke the neck of a crystalline being that could regenerate from almost any injury. Each victory was absolute and final. As dawn approached, Jake finally understood what he was facing. Queen Vexthara was not just strong or fast. She was a perfect killing machine created by evolution and enhanced by technology. Every movement was calculated for maximum effect. Every strike was designed to end fights quickly. But Jake also noticed something else in the recordings. Queen Vexthara had never faced an opponent who used deception or unusual tactics. Every challenger had tried to match her strength directly. They fought with honor and courage, but they fought on her terms. Jake began to form a plan. It was desperate and probably suicidal, but it was the only chance he could see. Humans had never been the strongest or fastest species on Earth. They had survived by being smarter and more adaptable than their enemies. Tomorrow he would find out if those qualities were enough to face the ultimate predator. The Grand Colosseum was a sight that took Jake's breath away. The arena floor was perfectly circular and 200 yards across. Energy barriers surrounded the fighting space, rising up to protect thousands of spectators in tiered seating. Beings from across the galaxy had come to watch what they expected to be a brief and violent show. Jake stood in the preparation chamber beneath the arena floor. The room was simple with basic equipment for different species. He wore his standard Earth military combat gear, which looked primitive compared to the advanced technology around him. His uniform was gray and black, with reinforced padding at vital points. It would offer little protection against Corvani claws, but it was familiar, and that gave him comfort. Dr. Amy Phillips checked his vital signs one final time. Your heart rate is elevated but within normal ranges for combat stress, she reported. Try to stay calm and remember everything we discussed. Lisa Carter paced nervously nearby. She had spent the morning trying to find diplomatic ways to cancel the challenge. But ancient laws were clear. Once invoked, the right of challenge could only end with victory, death, or formal surrender. There's still time to yield, she said quietly. It would be embarrassing, but you'd live. Earth's reputation would suffer, but we could recover eventually. Jake shook his head. If I surrender, now every alien species will see humans as cowards. They'll never take us seriously. This is our only chance to prove we belong among the stars. The arena announcer's voice echoed through the chamber. The being spoke in the universal trade language that most species understood. Citizens of the galaxy, today we witness the 101st challenge to Queen Vexthara the Unconquerable. Her opponent is Captain Jake Morrison, representing the human species of Earth. Loud laughter and jeering came from the crowd above. Jake could hear aliens making jokes about how quickly the fight would end. Some were betting on whether he would last 10 seconds or 20. Queen Vexthara has defeated champions from 57 different worlds, the announcer continued. She has never lost a battle and has never shown mercy to those who challenge her rule. Today a new species seeks to test their strength against the ultimate predator. A door opened and guards motioned for Jake to enter a lift that would take him to the arena floor. He looked back at Lisa and Amy one final time. Tell my family I was thinking of them, he said. The lift rose through the floor of the arena, and Jake stepped into blinding light. A crowd noise hit him like a physical force. Thousands of aliens filled the seats around the circular space. Most were cheering for Queen Vexthara, but Jake could see curiosity in their eyes as well. Humans were new to galactic society, and this would be their first real look at what his species could do. Queen Vexthara entered from the opposite side of the arena. She wore no armor or weapons beyond her natural abilities. Her blue-black skin gleamed under the lights, and her 4 arms moved in perfect coordination. The crowd erupted in cheers as she acknowledged their support with raised fists. She began a traditional Corvani war dance that was both beautiful and terrifying. Her movements flowed like water, but each gesture demonstrated deadly power. She leaped 20 feet straight up and landed without sound. She struck training posts that exploded into fragments. The display was designed to intimidate opponents, and it was working perfectly. Jake forced himself to ignore the show and focus on the arena itself. The floor was made of some kind of metal that provided good footing. Energy barriers prevented escape, but also meant neither fighter could be thrown out of the combat zone. There were no weapons or tools available. This would be decided by strength, speed, and skill alone. The announcer called for silence, and the crowd noise faded to whispers. A challenge is formally recognized under ancient law. Combat will continue until one participant yields, is unable to continue, or dies. There are no other rules. Let the battle begin. Queen Vexthara immediately charged across the arena. Her speed was incredible, and Jake barely had time to dodge sideways as 4 clawed hands swept through the space where he had been standing. The wind from her attack ruffled his hair. She spun with impossible grace and attacked again. This time Jake rolled backward and came up running. The crowd laughed as they saw the human fleeing from their champion. But Jake was not panicking. He was studying her movement patterns and reaction times just as he had planned. Queen Vexthara pursued him around the arena edge. Her longer legs should have given her an advantage, but Jake changed direction unpredictably. He used his smaller size to duck under her swipes and slip away from grabbing attempts. Each near miss taught him more about her fighting style. "Stand and fight," she roared in frustration. "Do not shame yourself with cowardice." But Jake continued his evasive pattern. He was not trying to win yet. He was gathering information about his opponent's capabilities and looking for weaknesses to exploit. This was human warfare at its finest: patience, analysis, and careful planning. The crowd began to boo as the expected quick finish did not happen. Some aliens threw objects at the energy barrier in frustration. They had come to see their champion destroy another victim quickly and decisively. Queen Vexthara's attacks became more aggressive as her temper rose. She began to make small mistakes in her technique. Her perfect controls started to slip as emotion overrode training. Jake noted every error and began to see patterns he could use. Finally, she managed to corner him against the arena wall. All four arms struck simultaneously in an attack that should have torn him apart. But Jake had been expecting this moment. He dropped flat to the ground and rolled between her legs as her claws sparked against the barrier where his head had been as he came up behind her. Jake struck quickly at a nerve cluster Amy had identified near her spine. His blow was perfectly placed and delivered with all his strength. Queen Vexthara stumbled forward with a cry of pain and surprise. The crowd fell silent in shock. No one had ever hurt their champion before. Queen Vexthara turned slowly with murder in her glowing eyes. "You will pay for that insult," she hissed. Jake smiled grimly. The real fight was just beginning, and for the first time he thought he might actually have a chance to win. Queen Vexthara attacked with renewed fury, but her perfect technique was gone. Pain and anger had replaced cold calculation. Jake continued to dodge and weave, letting her exhaust herself while he conserved energy. Each wild swing missed by inches, but cost her more strength. The crowd watched in growing amazement as their unbeatable champions struggled against a creature they had dismissed as helpless. Whispers spread through the alien spectators. Some began to lean forward in their seats. As they realized this might actually become a real fight, Jake used the arena's features to his advantage. When Queen Vexthara charged, he led her into the curved walls where her momentum worked against her. When she tried to grab him, he slipped away using his smaller size to fit through gaps she could not follow. Every move was calculated to frustrate and tire his much larger opponent. "Fight me properly," she roared, spittle flying from her fanged mouth. "Stop running like a frightened animal." But Jake had learned important lessons from Earth's military history. Sometimes the smaller force had to fight on different terms to survive. He thought of ancient battles where clever tactics had defeated superior numbers. Speed and intelligence could overcome raw power if used correctly. Queen Vexthara lunged forward with all four arms spread wide to prevent escape. This time Jake did not try to dodge. Instead, he dropped to his knees and slid forward between her legs. As he passed beneath her, he struck upward at another nerve cluster Amy had marked on the anatomical charts. The queen's left legs collapsed, and she crashed heavily to the arena floor. The impact echoed through the Colosseum like thunder. 4. A moment she lay stunned while Jake rolled away and regained his footing. The alien crowd was no longer laughing. Shocked silence filled the great arena as they watched their champion struggle to stand. Queen Vexthara had never been knocked down before. The impossible was happening before their eyes. She rose slowly, favoring her injured leg. Her orange eyes burned with hatred and something else, fear. For the first time in her life, Queen Vexthara was facing an opponent who could actually hurt her. The psychological impact was devastating. "What are you?" she snarled. "What kind of creature? Fights without honor?" Jake circled carefully, staying out of range of her claws. "I'm human. We fight to win." The answer seemed to confuse her. Corvani culture was built around concepts of honor and direct confrontation. The idea of using deception and misdirection was foreign to their way of thinking. She had trained to fight other apex predators who would meet her strength with their own power. Queen Vexthara changed tactics and began stalking Jake more carefully. Her initial rage cooled into focused determination. She was learning to adapt to his unusual fighting style, but the damage was already done. Doubt had entered her mind, and her body was beginning to feel the effects of her injuries. Jake continued his patient strategy. He landed quick strikes whenever opportunities appeared, then danced away before she could retaliate. Each blow targeted specific nerve points and pressure centers. None of the attacks would have stopped a human opponent, but Corvani anatomy was different enough that they caused increasing problems. Her right arm began to move sluggishly after. Jake struck a cluster of nerves near her shoulder. Her coordination suffered when he hit pressure points along her spine. The accumulated damage was taking its toll on even her enhanced physiology. The crowd's mood had completely changed. What began as entertainment had become something unprecedented. Aliens who had never shown interest in humans now watched every move with fascination. Species that had dismissed Earth as unimportant were reconsidering their opinions. Ambassador Lisa Carter watched from the diplomatic section with growing hope and terror. If Jake won, humanity's future among the stars would be secured. If he lost after coming so close, the humiliation would be even worse than a quick defeat. Queen Vexthara made her most desperate attack yet. She feigned weakness to draw Jake closer, then exploded into motion with all her remaining strength. Two of her arms swept low while the other two struck high, creating a deadly trap with no apparent escape. But Jake had been expecting something like this. He threw himself into a forward roll that carried him under the low strikes while the high ones passed over his head. As he completed the roll, he came up in perfect position to strike the base of her skull, where her brainstem connected to her spinal cord. His fist hit the target with surgical precision. Queen Vexthara's entire body went rigid for a moment, then she collapsed forward like a falling tree. She hit the arena floor with tremendous force and lay still. The silence in the Colosseum was absolute. 10,000 aliens held their breath, waiting to see if their champion would rise again. Jake stood ready to continue fighting, but Queen Vexthara remained motionless. Seconds stretched into eternity. Finally, she stirred and tried to push herself up with her forearms. But her coordination was gone, and she kept falling back to the floor. The precise strike had disrupted her nervous system without causing permanent damage. Jake walked slowly toward his fallen opponent. The crowd watched in stunned amazement as he approached the being who had terrorized the galaxy for years. Queen Vexthara looked up at him with eyes that no longer held certainty of victory. "Finish it," she gasped. "Kill me and claim your victory." But Jake did something that shocked everyone in the arena, including Queen Vexthara herself. Instead of delivering a killing blow, he extended his hand to help her stand. "I'm not here to kill you," he said quietly. "I'm here to prove that humans deserve respect. You can yield honorably, or we can keep fighting until you can't continue. The choice is yours." Queen Vexthara stared at the offered hand in complete confusion. No one had ever shown her mercy before. The concept was so foreign to her culture that she could barely understand what was happening. The crowd waited breathlessly to see what the legendary battle queen would choose. Queen Vexthara stared at Jake's extended hand for long moments that felt like hours. Her orange eyes showed confusion and something that might have been respect. Around the arena, 10,000 aliens waited in complete silence for her decision. Slowly, carefully, she reached up and grasped his hand. Jake helped pull her to her feet, though she swayed unsteadily. Her coordination was still affected by his precise strike to her nervous system. When she was standing, she looked directly into his eyes. "I have never yielded to anyone," she said in a voice that carried clearly through the silent arena. "But I have never faced an opponent like you. You fight with wisdom instead of just strength. You show mercy when you could take revenge." She stepped back and performed a gesture Jake had never seen before. Queen Vexthara placed all 4 hands over her heart and bowed her head. The crowd gasped in amazement. It was the ancient Corvani ritual of yielding that had not been seen for over 1,000 years. "I yield to the human Jake Morrison," she announced. "He has defeated me fairly and shown honor and victory. Let all species witness that humanity deserves a place among the stars." The arena erupted in chaos. Some aliens cheered while others sat in stunned disbelief. The impossible had happened. Queen Vexthara, the unconquerable, had been defeated by a being from a species most had never heard of until yesterday. Jake felt his legs go weak with relief. He had somehow survived a fight that should have killed him within seconds. More importantly, he had won respect for all humanity through his victory. The diplomatic mission that had seemed doomed was now assured of success. Ambassador Lisa Carter was crying with joy as she pushed through the crowd to reach the arena floor. Dr. Amy Phillips followed close behind with a medical scanner to check Jake for injuries. Both women looked like they had aged years in the past hour. "You did it?" Lisa whispered as she reached him. "You actually did it. Every species in the galaxy will have to take humans seriously now." Jake nodded, but his attention was focused on Queen Vexthara. She stood proudly despite her defeat, showing no shame at losing for the first time in her life. Her people gathered around her, but instead of anger, Jake saw something like wonder in their faces. Ambassador Kethver approached with obvious reluctance. The Corvani diplomat who had mocked human weakness now looked at Jake with grudging respect. "Your species fights in ways we do not understand," he admitted. "Perhaps we judged too quickly." Over the following hours, representatives from dozens of species approached Jake with offers of trade agreements and cultural exchanges. The victory had changed everything. Humanity was no longer seen as primitive newcomers, but as a species with unique perspectives on warfare and problem-solving. Queen Vexthara requested a private meeting before Jake left the station. They met in her personal quarters, which were decorated with weapons and trophies from her many victories. She moved more slowly than before, but her dignity remained intact. "I have been thinking about our battle," she said as they sat across from each other. "You used tactics I had never encountered. Where did you learn to fight in such a way?" Jake considered how to explain. "On Earth, humans were never the strongest or fastest predators. We survived by being smart and working together. We learned to use tools and strategy to defeat enemies that should have been able to kill us easily." Queen Vexthara nodded slowly. "Your people have much to teach mine about warfare. The Corvani have always relied on individual strength and honor, but your methods showed me new possibilities." She paused and seemed to struggle with her next words. "I would like to propose cultural exchange programs between our species. Young Corvani warriors could learn from human military tactics. In return, we could teach humans about advanced combat techniques and physical conditioning." Jake was amazed by the offer. Just hours ago, this being had been trying to kill him. Now she wanted their peoples to learn from each other. It was exactly the kind of breakthrough Lisa had hoped for when they first arrived at the station. "I think that's an excellent idea," he replied. "Both our species could benefit from sharing knowledge and perspectives." The meeting concluded with Queen Vexthara making a formal declaration that the Corvani Empire would support humanity's entry into the Galactic Council. Her endorsement carried tremendous weight with other species and virtually guaranteed Earth's acceptance. Jake returned to the Defiant to find his crew celebrating. Word of the victory had already reached Earth through faster-than-light communications. Messages were pouring in from governments and military leaders around the world, congratulating him on his achievement. The most important message was from his family. Emma and Tyler appeared on the communication screen with huge smiles. They still did not know exactly what had happened, but they could see the pride and relief in Jake's face. "Daddy, everyone is saying you're a hero," Tyler announced excitedly. "Did you really fight space monsters?" Jake laughed and felt some of the tension leave his body. "Something like that, buddy. I'll tell you all about it when I get home." Emma studied his face with concern. "Are you hurt? You look exhausted." "I'm fine," he assured her. "Just tired. The important thing is that Earth is going to become part of the galactic community. Humans will be able to explore space and learn from other species. It's going to change everything." 3 days later, the Galactic Council voted unanimously to accept humanity as a full member species. Trade agreements were signed that would bring Earth access to advanced technology and medical knowledge. Cultural exchange programs were established with over 20 different alien civilizations. Jake became known throughout the galaxy as the Giant Slayer, though he preferred his simple rank of captain. His victory was studied by military academies across known space as an example of how intelligence and adaptability could overcome superior force. Queen Vexthara kept her promise about cultural exchanges. Young Corvani warriors began training with human military instructors, while Earth soldiers learned advanced combat techniques from alien species. The programs were so successful that other civilizations requested similar arrangements. The story of Jake's victory spread far beyond official diplomatic channels. It became a legend told by spacers in taverns across the galaxy. The tale grew with each telling, but the core message remained the same. Never underestimate a determined human. As the Defiant prepared to leave Zephyria Prime, Jake stood once again at the viewing window, watching alien ships move through space. But this time, he saw them as partners rather than potential threats. Humanity had earned its place among the stars through courage, wisdom, and the willingness to show mercy. Even to defeated enemies. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had truly begun.